Alright, what's up? It's Cheshire here, and today we're going to talk about Dark Giratina. Now this is something that showed up at a recent massive tournament at Origins, I think it was. And this was one of the awesome decks that came out of it. There has been some talk about a deck like this before, but I think this is really the first time that we've seen not only this deck, but a bunch of decks running this little guy here. We will get to that in a second. So let's go through the deck list first before I talk about it. Already know about Shaymin EX. I don't want to go through that one again. You play him for setup and you draw cards. That's all great. Darkrai EX is amazing, mainly because of this Attack Dark Pulse, which does 20 more damage for each Dark Energy attached to all of your Pokemon. All of it. Don't worry about Dark Head, you'll never use it. You, generally speaking, will never use it. Weakness to fighting, as per, I think, almost every Darkrai that's ever been printed, or at least every EX, and a resistance to Psychic with the 2 retreat cost, which isn't so bad, and a good, decent amount of HP at 180, so that's pretty good for Darkrai. It runs 1 copy of Yveltal. Now, the reason I play as a Yveltal is because obviously, we don't care about 130 HP, that's fine. It's good to keep it out of range of most stuff anyway. It does Oblivion Wing, which is 1 Darkness Energy for 30 damage. Put a Darkness Energy from your discard pile into one of your benched Pokemon. Pretty awesome. You should already know what this card does. You should have already seen multiple times this copy being played, or another copy. Basically, this card at least. Darkness Blade you'll rarely use, but you know it's good to do a solid 100 damage for 3 energy, so 2 black and a colorless. However, flip a coin and if tails can't attack during your next turn is a pretty big drawback. Mostly. 2 retreat cost, weakness to electricity Pokemon. That is not great. That is really not great in a series where you have like Night March. Weakness to fighting resistance to fighting Pokemon. Really good in the current metagame because there are still some fighting decks out there. What else are we running? We're running Yveltal EX. Again, weakness and resistance exactly the same. Retreat costs the same at 2. It is a 170 HP Dark Pokemon. So Dark and Colorless. Evil Ball, 20 plus damage. This attack does 20 more damage times the amount of energy attached to both active Pokemon. So as you can imagine, this is really great at taking up Pokemon that require a lot of energy. And there are, you know, a fair few Pokemon out there. It has Y-Cyclone, so that's 90 damage for a Darkness and 2 Colorless energy, and you move you remove an energy from this Pokemon onto a benched Pokemon. I can't talk. One of the stars of the deck is Giratina EX. You should already be familiar with this beastie, and if you're not, you really want to be. Obviously, the art is amazing with that 170 HP Dragon Pokemon. Now, you do have Renegade Pulse, which is prevent all effects of attacks, including damage, done to this Pokemon by your opponent's Mega Evolution Pokemon, which is pretty good when you see that there's still some Mega Manectric running around and stuff like that. And, oh, I don't know, Alakazam, Mega Alakazam. But the real bread and butter here is Chaos Wheel. Now, stick with me for a moment because we'll get to this, but 1 Grass, 1 Psychic, 2 Colorless for 100 damage. Sounds alright. Yeah, it's alright. It's a bit expensive, but your opponent can't play any Pokemon tools, special energy, or stadium cards from his or her hand during his or her next turn. Amazing. Hey, look at my Softlock. My skills is the Softlock King. We don't run any Grass or Psychic energy. We'll get to that. Remember, this is a Dragon Pokemon, so I'm pretty sure you actually know what's coming up. Bad 80s game references. Alright, so it's got a weakness to Fairy-type Pokemon. That can be a bit of a drawback because there are Fairy decks running around, and 3 retreat cost is nothing to sniff at. That's really expensive. Okay, so we have 1 copy of Latios EX, 170 HP Dragon Pokemon. For 1 Psychic, you get Fast Raid. So if you go first, you can use this attack in your first turn. That's pretty much what you're going to be using it for. That little 40 damage, that can be beefed up with, I don't know, Fighting Fury Belts, Muscle Bands, etc., etc. It's great for trying to get a speed 1-hit kill on your opponent. Light Pulse, you're not going to use it. I don't even know if I should talk about it really, but 110 damage again, 4 energy. 1 water, 2 psychic, 1 colors. You are not going to be pulling this off very easily, trust me. Prevent all effects, blah, 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 opponent's attacks, except blah, 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 blah. We don't even care, right? Right? Big problem, weakness to fairy Pokemon. Double colorless retreat. That's cool. We'll get to why that's cool. Here's one of the big stars of this deck, though, that made this deck play so well throughout the entire tournament. And in fact, a number of decks, because this little guy here made a comeback. So first we got Trubbish, 70 HP, Psychic Pokemon, weak to Psychic, does Psychic? Does Acid Spray. We don't run any Psychic Energy or any way to use any Psychic Energy or attacks that require a Psychic Energy, so we don't care. Alright, here is fun. So Garbodor, weakness to Psychic, Psychic Pokemon, 100 HP. 3 retreat cost. You notice I'm messing over a whole heap of stuff because we'll get there. Offensive Bomb is offensive, we don't use it. It's terrible. This is your bread and butter. Bread and butter. Garbotoxin. If this Pokemon has a Pokemon tool card attached to it, then each Pokemon in play, other than, of course, this Pokemon, can't use their abilities. Their abilities are null and void. Shaman switches off. Shaman switches off. Lugia base with the Snorlaxy ability turns off. Sleep abilities are turned off. A lot of abilities are turned. This shuts down so much stuff. And not to mention, I don't know, maybe Trevenant. Or perhaps Vileplume. It shuts down a whole lot of stuff. So it is a fantastic card. And we already know this. We know this. People who played back in late Plasma era would know this, because we played a whole heap of decks with Garbotoxin Garbodors in there. We played Psychic decks that relied on Garbodor being out to shut people's abilities and stuff down. It was like Softlock Central, and it was amazing. Next up, trainers. So we've got 1 escape rope just to allow you to retreat stuff, because all your retreat costs are generally pretty bloody huge. We've got 4 copies of Max Elixir. I think that speaks for itself, to get Dark Energy onto your Pokemon as fast as possible to start powering stuff up. It, of course, also helps you combo out with Darkrai and Dark Pulse and things like that. Helps you power up a little Giratina really quickly. And, you know, it can even be used in your Shamans. Just can't be used in your Evolution Pokemon, which we don't really run any of except Garbodor, so we don't need to worry about it. We do run 1 Super Rod. That's just to get stuff back, because it's always good to have at least 1. We're running 4 Trainers Mail to help us find other trainers, such as our Mega Elixirs, our Ultra Balls, our Versus Seekers, pretty much everything. That's what it's in here for. Speaking of, we are running enough supporters to support our Versus Seekers. So we're running 4 of them. We are running 1 AZ to help us pick Pokemon back up, just in case we want to, I don't know, pick up a Garbodor and play a Shaman. We can do that. Or pick up a Pokemon and rescue it from being knocked out. We can do it. All those sorts of, you know, really yummy fun things that we can do with it. It's just a fantastic card. 1 Lysander, because, let's face it, ever since they decided to change Catcher, there's been nothing that's really compared very well with it, other than Lysander, because Lysander is basically the new Catcher, and it was the way of fixing the card. And let's face it, it's just great, right? Fetch Pokemon up, kill it. We are running a couple of N, only 2, because we don't need a whole lot of N in this deck to make it work. Trust me, you're going to be drawing through your deck like it's crazy Christmas. We are running 4 Professor Sycamores, because Sycamore allows you to dump and draw, pretty much. You already know about that. We are running 1 Parallel City for its opposite side to limit our opponent's bench space, because there's a number of decks that we really want to do that with. We're only running 1 though, which isn't short-sighted, but it feels like it could use 2 in some cases, especially in, I don't know, kind of freaky matchups. Again, that's where this comes in though. Shuts off the powers. It's brilliant. We are running 2 Fighting Fury Belt, obviously to give extra HP and an extra 10 damage to something, probably a Darkrai or a Yveltal or maybe even a Giratina, but probably not. Just depends on what you want to throw it on. We are running 3 Float Stones because we want to throw at least 1 onto our Garbodor to make sure your Garbodor is active, and use the other one to retreat something else if you need to at some point. We are running 2 Muscle Bands just to pump up our damage by an extra 20 because you can never do too much damage, right? Now, here comes your bad 80s game reference. It's Double Dragon Energy. I don't actually have a bad reference for this, I'm sorry. I should have planned in advance, and I really didn't. Double Dragon Energy is fantastic because not only when it's attached to your Dragon Energy, your Dragon Pokemon, which is the only place it can be, Giratina, Lugia, Latios, Lugia. Oh, I'm having one of those days, aren't I? This also counts as every type of energy. That means Dark Energy. So yes, it works as Darkrai. You get 2 of these bad boys in play on a Giratina, your Darkrai is doing a crap ton of damage, and it is a fantastic thing to do. And we are running 8? Yeah, we're running 8 Darkness Energy because we want to have enough Darkness Energy in our deck to be able to play out with Max Elixir. We want to have enough that we can pop a couple in the discard pile and use a Yveltal to get it back onto a bench Pokemon. And generally speaking, we just need enough energy to actually run this deck with, and this deck is a bit energy hungry. So that is... I don't know if somebody's come up with the name for this deck yet. I'm calling it Dark Giratina. Go figure. But that is Dark Giratina, and it ran rampant over in the US just recently at the Origins tournament, along with a number of other decks, including Trevenant, that wasn't running any Mega Alakazam, which is interesting and making me kind of rethink about my life's decisions. But yeah, this deck is really cool, and you should try it out. And that's what we're about to do. So we'll see you on the flip side when we go and play some ladder and maybe a tournament or 2.